Greetings all, and welcome to Lucas Brews, and the third and final episode in my Airfix 1/72nd scale double Bristol Beaufighter build series. In this final episode, I'll be finishing off the final details, adding weathering, and giving a post-build review of these two kits, which I've been putting together for my upcoming film about the Battle of Milne Bay. So, without further ado, let's get into finishing these two. After giving the matte varnish 24 hours to fully cure, I then removed the white tack masks from the canopy and engines, and unfortunately they took the front row of cylinders out with them, so I had to glue them back into place. I also then cut out and glued the framework to the front part of the cowling and then attached this subassembly to the engines. As well as designing and 3D printing some new exhausts, I also did some new main wheels, since the Milne Bay Beaufighters appear to have spoked wheels with no tread on the tyres, whereas the included main wheels in this kit have smooth wheel hubs. Once printed out, the wheels, exhausts and also the kit's propellers were primed with Vallejo Gloss Black Primer, and once that had dried, I glued the exhausts where the flame dampeners would have been in this kit. Initially, I'd painted the frames at the front of the engine cowlings with IDF green, but after looking at more reference photos, I decided to repaint these Vallejo model colour flat black. The flat black was also used to paint the tail wheel, propeller blades, and the main wheels. I applied several thin coats of the flat black to all of these parts, allowing a few minutes between each coat for the layers to dry. The propeller hub, along with the remaining gearbox parts for the engine, were painted with several coats of Vallejo oily steel for a dark metallic effect, while Vallejo Model Air steel was used to paint the wheel hubs for both the main wheels and the tail wheels. The tips of the propeller blades were initially painted a coat of model colour pink mixed with some flat white, which would make painting the yellow easier and require less coats than if it was applied straight onto black. While allowing for the pink base coat to dry, I decided to address the engine exhausts. Initially, I'd painted the front part of them bronze, but after looking at references of similar British engines on restored flying aircraft, as well as exhausts in general, I decided to try a little experiment. First of all, I repainted the entire exhaust system with Vallejo Model Air Chrome Silver. This thinned down acrylic paint is of course designed for airbrushing, but it was really easy to brush this on in about 2 layers. This would form the base colour for the exhausts, and then to achieve the discoloration and burnt effects, I applied first some Tamiya Clear Blue in soft patches around the middle of the cowling exhaust ring, and also along the joins of the exhaust outlet, followed by some AK Interactive Orange for variation. I tried to apply the blue and orange tones where they appeared in reference photos, but I could have perhaps been more precise and also a little bit stronger with this effect. The final layer of paint onto the exhaust was some model colour Old Rust for some heavy flakes, and while those colours dried, I painted the tips of the propeller blades with 2 coats of Vallejo Model Air Flat Yellow, which was super easy to apply over the pink. To then achieve a rust-like colour on the exhaust system, I then applied a layer of AK Interactive Light Rust Wash, thinned down with X20 enamel thinners to smooth the enamel product and also make it thinner. This was then followed by some Tamiya XF64 Red Brown, which was thinned down heavily and then applied while the rust wash was still drying to the areas I wanted darker and more burnt. Finally, some XF1 Flat Black was then blended in as well, and the enamel paints were then allowed to dry. To then add some soft areas that were less brown, I then used a brush dipped in enamel thinners to thin down the dried layers and blend them slightly on some parts of the exhausts. I also use this technique quite heavily on the fronts of the engine cowlings, which often look like metal chipping in reference photos. With the exhausts done, I then added on the main wheels, which fitted perfectly into the landing gear struts as if they were the kit's original ones, and then I assembled the propellers, which have a little locking pin. The pin is slid into the gearbox part and the propeller glued to the other end, which allows the propeller to spin freely. I then carefully applied some glue to the front gearbox part and pushed it into place on the front of the engine. The fit of the gearbox cover was very tight, and oddly on both Beaufighters was easier to apply onto the right side. For both left engines I had to use a file to sand out the hole, and in one case I even removed the whole engine to make it easier to access before I could get the propeller into place. Once this was done, I could then finally move on to some metal chipping. As previously mentioned, I originally planned to try chipping fluid on both Beaufighters, but decided I wanted a finer and more controllable result, since both of these aircraft would have been pretty new when they arrived at Milne Bay. Having said that though, photos of A1913 and some other Beaufighters from a similar time period still seem to show quite a lot of weathering, including metal chipping. Granted, A19-13 had just had an accident in these photos, but I'm pretty confident some of this was not the result of the crash. To create the metal chipping, I used a fine brush and some Vallejo Model Air aluminium. The excess paint was removed from the brush, and then I dry brushed and dabbed the aluminium paint onto the areas I wanted to add chipping. On Beaufighters, this can be seen on the leading edges of the wings, the propellers, around the engine cowlings, intakes, access hatches, and in some cases quite heavily around the nose. I also added a tiny bit of chipping around the observer's access hatch on the roof of the fuselage, and some areas on the wing where foot traffic from pilots and maintenance crew might damage the paint slightly over time. Once this was done, I left the metal chipping to dry for a few minutes, and in the meantime I squeezed out some Abteilung 502 oil paints onto some cardboard and left them aside to leak out some of their excess oil. During that time, I got out some Tamiya black enamel panel liner and applied it along all of the panel lines for both Beaufighters as part of my usual weathering. The enamel wash helps to highlight the surface details and also gives the impression of grime built up subtly in the panel lines. Once applied, I then dipped a cotton bud in some X20 enamel thinners and started to gently rub the excess panel liner off both models. Normally, this simply removes the excess panel liner and helps it flow more into just the recessed details, but in this case it seemed to start peeling off something. I tried to switch to a brush and also gently wipe the panel wash away with paper towel in case the cotton buds were being too abrasive, but even the brush still caused this peeling effect, and the paper towel was then needed to wipe away whatever was peeling. I suspect this might have been part of the matte varnish layer that had been applied over the decals to protect them, and normally I don't have any issues like this. Fortunately, this didn't happen on the underside of either aircraft, and though some of the paint chipping flaked away with the varnish, the upper surface remained matte and in good condition. I have heard that the Tamiya enamel thinners are quite aggressive, so in the future I might try using some gentler odorless thinners or white spirits to see if that prevents this from happening again. I suspect this may have happened on my Revell Corsair double builds I did recently, but this is the first time I've actually noticed this happen while working on a build, and I've been using this combo of panel liner and X20 enamel thinners on acrylic paints for several years now without any other incidents. In any case, as well as streaking away the excess panel liner, I also used a cotton bud on the underside to dab some of it onto the areas under the engines to create some oil marks, which are quite common on aircraft with radials. Once the panel liner had been applied, I then allowed it some time to dry before I then got out the oil paints from earlier for some additional weathering. The first effect I did was to create a subtle build-up of dried mud on the fuselage sides and underside of the wings, using some heavily thinned down dark mud in a swiping motion. This would replicate some stains and dirt from operating out of unprepared airstrips. The dark mud and some light mud were then wetly dabbed along the areas of the wing where ground crew would walk, and then I switched to some ivory black and engine grime mixed together to create exhaust stains and gun smoke. For these effects, I would apply the oil paints and then wet my brush in the thinners to then soften the edges, or a fine brush to streak the effect backwards in the direction air would flow over the wings. Looking at reference photos of other Beaufighters, these stains and streaks could be very prominent. I used some AK odorless thinners to both reactivate the oil paints that had slightly dried and also to thin them down and remove any excess or soften the edges once they were applied onto the model. To add some dried dirt and mud on the wheels, I decided to try applying a coat of light mud onto the tyres, applying it in a thick blob and then spreading it around with the thinners to replicate the build-up. The thinners was also used to remove any dirt and mud from the middle of the wheels, which would be in contact from the ground and allow them to rub away. For some darker mud on the wheels and also the bottom of the rudder flicked up from the tail wheel, I then also used some dark mud and repeated these similar effects. The oil paints take quite a long time to fully dry, so I left both Beaufighters weathering for a few days and worked on some other details. These included the nav lights, which were painted several coats of RLM01 silver for a shiny base colour, and in between coats of that I painted the antennas the colour of the camouflage where they would be attached, and reused the RLM01 silver for the pitot tube. Although the clear parts included in this kit are of really great quality, I still decided to sacrifice one of the Beaufighter's set of clear parts to create some bucks, and re-vacuform copies of the canopy, observer's dome, and clear cover on the radio finder with my vacuformer. Once I'd vacuformed these parts, they were then cut out of the sheet and trimmed to fit the Beaufighters. The front windshield didn't fit perfectly, but the kit's canopy was already slightly too wide as it was, though in general the fit of the other parts was pretty good. Although it probably would have helped to have glued the canopies in place and removed some of the gap, I decided to leave them temporarily unglued so that I could still add some 3D printed RAAF pilots later on when filming Milne Bay. With the silver dry, the nav lights were now painted with Tamiya clear red and clear green, and for the landing lights I decided to try adding some lamps by cutting out 2 circles from some shiny aluminium packaging and gluing them into place. It was a little bit of a crude technique, but still better than nothing. The Milne Bay Beaufighters all seem to have had radio direction finding equipment, and parts are actually included for this in the kits. However, neither kit featured schemes which used them, so the instructions didn't indicate that you have to cut out a hole in the fuselage to fit them into place. Since I'd already assembled the fuselage, I obviously couldn't really do this, so instead I cut the loops from the base part that they're attached to and roughly glued them into the correct place. Though initially I attached them too far forward on the fuselage and would have to reattach them further aft later on. The frames on the vacuform canopies were less pronounced than the kit ones, but they were still reasonably easy to paint. First with 2 coats of the interior grey-green for their internal framework colour, and then either BS green or BS brown for their exterior colour, depending on which Beaufighter I was applying them to. Since I used acrylics for the canopies, I could then gently scratch away any mistakes with a cocktail stick to neaten them up. The type of landing gear light I would use also had an internal wall between each half, which I carefully painted with the interior green. While the interior grey-green dried, I then cut out the 2 nav lights for each wing. The nav lights are very awkwardly positioned on the sprue, so once they were cut out I had to trim away the excess carefully with a knife, which was very fiddly and tricky given their tiny size. Ordinarily I'd use odorless rocket CA glue for clear parts since it doesn't fog them up and dries quite strong, but I'd ran out at this time, so I instead tried some micro crystal clear, which is very much like a slightly stronger PVA glue, and although it dried clear, the bond seemed very weak on the nav lights, so I may have to re-glue them later on with the odorless glue when I get some, so that I don't accidentally lose the clear nav lights when handling the models in stop motions. I did my best to clean up the interior grey-green inside of the landing lights, though it was a little bit tricky to get the cocktail stick into them, but once done I then cut them out and slotted them into place. The fit of the landing gear light covers is really tight, so I decided to not actually use any adhesive on it. The rigging for both of the Beaufighters was then created with some AK Interactive Mega Thin rigging wire and some super glue, and for a change it was nice and easy and I didn't swear once. The rigging consisted of a single main line that led from the fuselage antenna to the top of the tail, and although there was also a smaller wire that goes from the mast to the fuselage, which you can see in reference photos, I decided to leave this one out as it was a little bit too small and fiddly and there wasn't really much of a contact point for the mast or the fuselage. I did some final touch-ups with the green and brown for the canopies, and I also repainted the damaged areas from where I'd removed the first attempt at placing the direction finders. At this point I finally noticed and decided to drill out some holes in the wings for the machine guns, which are absent in this kit. This was done using a small needle and gently poked into where they would be. It would have been much easier to have corrected this before joining the wing halves, as I found when trying to use the needle on them the wing halves would split, but luckily a little bit of Tamiya extra thin was all that was needed to rejoin the wings when I'd done this. The final details I added to both Beaufighters was then some gun smoke coming from their new barrels. This was done using some black oil paint which I'd actually had lying around for a few weeks and had nearly become rock solid, but I was still able to activate some on the cardboard with some odorless thinners. The paint was thinned down heavily and then applied onto the model and blended for a nice subtle effect. And after the oil paints had dried, I decided to call both of my Milne Bay Beaufighters finally completed. And here you can see the results I achieved with these models. So after having built these two, I can say that the Airfix kit is certainly not a bad little one, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. They had very few fit issues, and it was pretty easy to correct the shape of the horizontal stabilizers and add the new wheel and exhaust to replicate a Mark 1. As I mentioned previously, I do believe the early Beau's engine nacelles may have been slightly different, but I couldn't really notice this in photos, so I decided to just keep the kit's original ones. There are a few areas that are slightly simplified, such as the engines and cockpits, but I'm sure you can find aftermarket ones for them if you really wanted to go beyond what this already decent kit has out of the box. It is a bit annoying that the wings do not have holes drilled out for the machine gun barrels, but you can correct this if you so wished. Although I made a few mistakes, and there are certainly things I can improve on, such as my camouflage masking and dealing with the double-layered custom decals, I'm still really happy with how both these kits turned out, especially in terms of the oil weathering, and I hope I can avoid any more mysterious peeling stuff in the future by using the more gentle odorless thinners from AK Interactive instead of X20 enamel thinners next time I try some panel washers. I feel like I've definitely succeeded in my goal of capturing the early RAAF Beaufighters that made their debut at Milne Bay, and I'm very much looking forward to using these finished kits to help tell the story of the real aircraft and crew when I finally make my Milne Bay stop motion series. Overall, the Airfix Beaufighter is definitely a kit I would build again in a heartbeat. I certainly recommend it for anyone wanting a 1/72nd scale model of this heavily underappreciated British workhorse, and after having enjoyed these builds very much, I'm excited to also build and convert the Airfix Beaufort for the Milne Bay project as well, which will be done in a future video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. If you did, please be sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next one. And feel free to leave any friendly advice, other kits you want to see me build, or any experiences you've had with Bristol Beaufighter kits in the comments below. A massive thank you to my wonderful patrons for helping make these videos possible by allowing me to fund buying the products I use to make these kits and also the kits themselves. And if you want to help support my channel financially as well as my longer term projects like the Milne Bay film, then please consider joining my Patreon, a link to which I'll leave in the description. Part 2 of my T-34 build will be coming out sometime next week, and I'm also planning to release Part 1 of my Hobby Boss Grumman Avenger build very soon as well. That's it for now, but until the next video, as always, take care and model on.